coaches, we failed to make our coaching points and our points more compelling than their fat little girlfriends.
Our first half, we got hit in the mouth and acted like somebody took our lunch money, and all we wanted to do was have pouty expressions on our face until somebody daubed our little tears off.
Now, we have the atmosphere of a JC softball game. You know, I mean, that's what we are, a JC softball team. As long as, you know, it's not whether you win or lose. It's like the team that wins is the one that has the most fun.
All right, we have a very special guest joining us this week, the new head coach at Mississippi State and the Cody, Wyoming native, Mr. Mike Leach. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. I got to know, have you found out why it's called Stark Vegas yet?
I haven't. It's, that name came out and it evidently stuck. So, and people are quite excited about it. They'll put that sign up, you know, the shape of the Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign or whatever, and they'll stick Stark Vegas right in there and don't hesitate. And, no, it's really kind of a cool deal. And so it's actually even in the locker room. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just something that started up and took on a life of its own. I haven't heard the specifics on how that got rolling.
I'm sure you'll find out sooner than later. You grew up in Cody. Can you kind of talk to us about what it was like growing up there in Park County? And I got to know this, too. Did you watch any Wyoming football or anything like that when you were growing up there in Cody?
I watched, you know, it's hard because we only had 3 stations. We lived out of town, so if you lived out of town, you only had 3 stations. If you lived in town, you had probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And then, so it was pretty tough. You know, we were kind of curious about it, and occasionally we'd hear our teachers talking about it, but not a lot. They were running the wishbone back then, and which incidentally is a pretty good offense, but I didn't watch a lot of Wyoming, no.
So how did you discover this love of football? Because you're one of the rare coaches that actually didn't play.
I was a big, I played all through high school. Then I broke my ankle my senior year. So then I didn't play college. I thought I was going to go to law school, which I did.
Yeah.
But and then I started playing rugby in college and just basically said, you know, I'm getting to play here, getting to do a bunch. So, and I do think BYU is a little over my head as far as talent level and things. And so but you guys see, I was a big Green Bay Packers fan. I read everything I could on the Green Bay Packers, read everything I could on Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr, and was always cranked about that. Had a picture of Bart Starr hanging next to my bed.
Oh, cool.
And so I studied. I mean, I read every book I could get my hands on. You know, It started where you went to grade school, the scholastic books of something or other, you know, where I'd save my my money from chores and stuff and go in there with, you know, and I'd have to make decisions on how many books I could afford. And, and so I'd get my handful of books, a bunch of them were football books. And so it was all very cool. And then I read all of them too.
Yeah.
So, so I guess that was a start. I think that program, if it's not still going, really ought to be, because it's certainly kind of enriched my life in ways that I haven't thought about. You know, I mean, it got me reading, it got me curious, and so I think that was very important. And then, and then football-wise, then it gets addicting. You know, can we do this? Can we do that? How about can we do the other thing?
Yeah.
You know, and so then you're going like that, and then then you go in the backyard. You know, we'd go to I think it was Livingston Park. Was it called Livingston Park in Cody?
I'm not sure.
Up there by because we went. Anyway, so we'd go there and play football and, or backyards or whatever, and do our thing. And so, I mean, it's kind of like one thing led to the next.
Well, and in Wyoming, BYU is a cuss word, but how much did Lavelle Edwards and watching guys like McMahon and those guys, how much did that improve your love of football, if it even could have, and help with you discovering and coming up with the air raid offense?
Yeah, BYU was a cuss word to everybody back then. I mean, you win 18 out of 22 conference championships. You're not going to have a lot of friends running around the place.
Right. That's right.
The fact if you don't allow drinking on campus, that multiplies it about 5 times. So then,
that's true.
McMahon was outstanding. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest college quarterbacks that ever played. I mean, had the national record for the season for a long time. And then, I got a guy that's got it now. B.J. Simmons has it now.
Mm-hmm.
We made a run for it this year. Anthony Gordon almost broke B.J.'s, but didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
We tried, though. But it was, football-wise, that was a good time to go to BYU because it's the golden age. When I first got there, Mark Wilson was Gifford Nielsen had just gone to the draft.
Yeah.
Mark Wilson was the quarterback, and then 2 years Jim McMahon, 1 year Steve Young. So, I mean, those teams and what they're doing offensively was new to football. So it really was a great time to be there and just observe and check it out.
Yeah.
What drove sent you to BYU versus someplace like University of Wyoming, and how did that choice, do you think, help push you towards, like you said, you didn't play football in college, so what kind of drew you to that path?
Well, BYU. Okay, so the first thing was I'd gone to a camp, a football camp there at BYU. And checked out the facilities, all that. They had very nice facilities. And I liked the University of Wyoming. As a matter of fact, I visited several times when I was in college and, checked it out and connected with old friends and stuff like that. A portion of it is a new place, different setting, where so many people from high school were all going to University of Wyoming, people I knew, and I felt like it'd be kind of high school chapter 2 a little bit. I just wanted to go a place where I didn't know anybody, which BYU was pretty much like that, not completely because I did know a few people. And then, so I like that aspect, the kind of restart, the independence, do your thing. The facilities at BYU are, they're indisputable. As far as all the rules, those are indisputable too. We have plenty of them, but I never regretted my time at BYU. As a matter of fact, really liked it, and I thought about just do it as extreme as possible. And I was playing rugby at the time, and the 2 best rugby teams were BYU and Cal. About midway through, I actually thought about transferring to Cal. That'd be the contrast right there. With the BYU and Cal, then I'd be on both sides of the pole right there.
Yes, you would.
and both had pretty good rugby, but then I didn't, because didn't have so many. My classes would transfer, but probably would have taken me another semester. So then I went to LA for law school.
How many times, Coach, do you think you broke the honor code at BYU during your time there?
Some. I mean, everybody does some, and I got to where I was pretty familiar with one of the guys. Okay, so one of the honor code guys is a very uptight, pious, and not very friendly guy, just like being just like power. Okay, yeah. Then the other guy was just an outstanding guy, just a good guy. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you in this role? I mean, because it's got a dog catcher quality to it, and so I'm thinking, why are you in this role? I mean, what's a great guy like you doing here, And so he was just a real friendly guy, talked about golf all the time, loved golf. And so he'd go in there, and I would always be in there for hair, right? And then I'd say, all right, I'm going to just style it, and I'd jam it all above my ears. You know, I'm going to style it like this. Because didn't say cut. It says it has to be styled above the ears. So I just go ahead and jam it all above my ears, and there we go, style. And then I'd always hold my head forward so the back of it wasn't touching my collar, you see. and he would just sort of laugh and say, all right, you know you need a haircut, and just go get a haircut. And, you know, so we'd chat for like 15, 20 minutes, and then he'd send me out the door. Or if he was busy, he'd look at me, nod, wink, and just point to the door. All right, out you go.
We're being joined right now by head coach Mike Leach, who just accepted the job at Mississippi State University. He's also a Cody, Wyoming native. Coach, you got to come back to Laramie with your Washington State team in 2018. How special was that to coach a game in your home state, and I assume see a lot of people you knew?
Can I get a key on this? It was outstanding. I mean, because I love going back to Wyoming, and it was cool to, I mean, we'd had him coach through it, but it was also kind of cool to look at the expression on our players' faces. You know, as the sign 7,269 feet or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
As they're talking about all that, but we have a little elevation ourselves, and we think we're as Western as anybody there at Washington State. So, but it was a cool setting, and I did run into some old friends. So the thing is you don't really have any time. You know, you go to the hotel, you go play the game, they load you up on a plane. Okay, now one of my favorite players. Each year I have a favorite player. You know, from some other team.
Yeah.
That you know, I'll kind of taunt my team with, like, yeah, well, that was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as this guy. or yeah, that was a nice hit, but it's soft compared to so and so. Well, my guy, and why can't I think of his name? And he, the safety, the long-haired safety,
Andrew Wingert.
Andrew Wingert, yeah. And so I call him Hair. I say, well, you don't hit like Hair does. and then I go, you're not even close. And then, oh yeah, well, I do this. I go, he'd kill you. And I even had footage like, so we score a touchdown. One guy catches a touchdown pass. So Kyle Sweet, you know, our inside receiver's blocking Andrew, right?
Yeah.
And Andrew's so pissed that we scored a touchdown. He picks up Kyle Sweet by his waist, lifts him over his head, and just slams him on the ground. I mean, we didn't even have a safety that could do that, you know. and then fast forward, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
I think him and Gardner Minshew roomed together there in Jacksonville.
Yep,
you know, our quarterback.
Yep, they sure did. That's funny. So Mississippi State, what are you looking forward to most, Coach? Coaching in the SEC, and I guess most people want to know, can the air raid work in SEC country?
Yeah. The biggest thing is our other players get better too. You know, so I think it's relative. The other players get better, but the one thing that can't be ignored is there's great defensive linemen in the SEC. Mm-hmm. But air raid works in the NFL, and it worked in the SEC when we were at Kentucky and led the conference in offense. So we expect it to again. I'm excited about it. I was really excited about Washington State, and still am, and the whole people and setting everything there. I am encouraged that there at Mississippi State, there's a lot of Gardner Minshew, Andrew Wingert guys running around there, so that's encouraging.
Yeah.
And so kind of old school guys. And then it's been good. I mean, the recruiting class looks good. I'll know a lot more. And we're in the off season. They've been participating hard in that. And I'll know more on all of this stuff when we get into spring football.
Well, you know how the dominoes fall. Washington State ended up snagging 3 Wyoming coaches when you left.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Those are pretty quality guys, and Coach Bowles does a tremendous job, and I think that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
And he's a friend of mine. As a matter of fact, he sent me a bottle of Wyoming whiskey, just because, which was gracious of him. And then, so that was it. Did but I had my eye on a couple of those guys myself, thinking they were pretty good. I ended up going another direction, but
Yeah.
I was impressed with those guys.
Well, it's funny. Coach Bull brings you up in almost every press conference because the media gets on him about not throwing the ball enough. And he said, I'm not going all Mike Leach on it.
He said, hey, he's done it his way and done a good job. Hey, thank you so much. And then he's done it his way and done a fantastic job of it, and I certainly can't argue with his approach. I mean, and he's won everywhere he's been. And so if I see him, I wouldn't change a thing,
Yeah, absolutely. So something wanted to hit you with, if you don't mind, maybe ask you a couple of goofy questions. I know you're probably used to that.
All right.
Well, especially you talked about liking to read so much about a bunch of different things when you were growing up. I was the same way. We understand you're a fan of pirates. I had a question for you, if you don't mind. A lot of people, when they see a pirate flag or when they think of a pirate flag, they think of the Jack Rackham, the skull with the crossed swords. Do you think a lot of people realize what kind of a crummy pirate Jack Rackham was?
Yeah, exactly. Hid under the deck while Ann Bonny and
Ann Bonny.
Mary Surratt did the fighting down there. They said something like, if I can't remember what you said. If you fought like something or other, you wouldn't have died like dogs,
Yeah. Well,
and then here's another little trivia thing. Neither of those women were executed. Ann Bonny, and I think it was Mary Surratt. But anyway, it's Mary somebody. And then, and so what they got put into prison about the time execution day comes around. They said, well, we're pregnant. And, you couldn't execute a pregnant lady. And so they both eventually got off. And I think, if I recall correctly, one of them married some kind of rich, established guy, and I guess her pirating ways ended. But no, Jack was kind of a Calico Jack. He was kind of a sort of a sleazy, dubious, cowardly character, they say. He wasn't an organizer like Bartholomew Roberts, who was one of the best if he didn't have the early death. And then, of course, Blackbeard's the most colorful guy.
Well, he learned about how to brand yourself. Talk about with the lighting the fires in his beard and in his hat and stuff.
Yeah, so then you'd have a wreath of smoke over your head, so you'd look totally like Satan as you're coming at him. And plus, he was like a guy that was 6'4", which may have been 7 feet back then, And he'd get after you,
Yeah. What got you into that path of was that the books when you were younger that got you into stuff like that, or what got you to such a diverse interest for history and subjects like that?
I was kind of into all of it, just something new, something different. So I like pirates. I mean, everybody likes pirates if they're, with rare exception, if they're honest with themselves. I mean, those Pirates of the Caribbean movies sell like crazy, and some are better than others, but the more realistic ones I like better. Of course, they're hard to do because you've got all that water and ships and everything moving around. But
a production nightmare, sure.
And then of course, I wrote I've written 2 books. Wrote the one on Swing Your Sword. Swing Your Sword is my path into coaching. And I was lucky enough that made it to number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list. And I talked about Wyoming and that, Cody and Sheridan and all the places I lived. And then, so I was lucky enough on that, it sold a bunch of books. And so then I got to do a book on Geronimo, and it's Geronimo Leadership Lessons of an American Warrior. And so that was pretty cool. That was fun because, and I knew a lot about Geronimo, but in the course of researching a book and working with my partner, I mean, we discovered new stuff, and it was pretty good stuff.
Well, Coach, they always talk about how strenuous it is to be a collegiate head football coach. How in the world do you find time to write 2 books and do all the research and stuff like that?
Well, I have a partner who does a lot of the research, and then and I've had great partners, so that I think that helps. And then, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's time consuming, and I mean consuming to the point where you get obsessed with those suckers, you know.
Yeah.
And not going anywhere till I get through this many pages, nothing doing type of deal, you know. And I'd have these little goals, nope, not till I'm through. Because we email and send back and forth rough drafts and stuff. So, well, there'd be a rough draft of the facts, and so I'd make sure got through it, and then we'd correct it over the phone. So it'd be like these 3.5 hour phone calls over the phone as I'm talking and typing, and we're rewriting, get rid of this paragraph, move this one to here, change this word to this. And because you're trying to get it perfect, because you feel like it's, it'll be permanent, like it's on your gravestone or something. And so then, and then the amazing thing is, and I've had both books, we had good editors, I thought.
Yeah.
The amazing thing was, so then we turn it in, and I thought the editor in both cases really organized and straightened it out and really had some good thoughts, which they didn't change it dramatically. Nothing was dramatic, maybe put this here or that there. But after going over it like 6 times, we think we've got everything. And, no, they had a bunch of good ideas, and so, word here, make this the last chapter, not the first one, that type of stuff,
Yeah.
My last one before we got some more fun ones for you. Do you feel like doing a lot of research and learning about such a diverse array of things and just like knowing more as a person, do you think that's helped you be more creative as a coach and kind of and have more things to think about when you're looking at coaching a bunch of student athletes?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know. I hope that's true. And I think it probably is. Part of it is you coach and you work and you strive at all this stuff, and then, you got to change it up. I mean, without redundancy and doing the same thing over and over again, you're not going to be any good. But the other thing is it gets boring. And so, the thing that livens it up is the people. And so people's background stories and what they know, I think, is really key to liven the things up,
Yeah. All right, Coach. What's your favorite food? And I hope you like Southern cooking.
I do. I really like Southern cooking. So lately, I've cashed in on crawfish as much as I can because I love that. You can't get it too much there in Washington. And then I like greens, all of them. Turnip, collard, all of them. And then so I try to get those. I haven't gotten as many of those as I'd like. From Washington, though, I love crab legs, king crab legs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So crab legs is probably my number one. I'll tell you something that's really good if you can find it, or buffalo steaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got some of those around Wyoming.
Yeah, we can find those here.
Yeah, we'll have to go poach us a buffalo and have a barbecue or something.
What about Rocky Mountain oysters? You into those, Coach?
Not really. I mean, they don't taste as bad as you'd think, and they're not as disgusting as the visual of it,
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, during the spring, I mean, you can get Rocky Mountain oysters all over because it's branding season. But, to me, they taste like soft chicken gizzards,
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
and they don't taste good. They don't taste bad. They're just like, it's just like something else fried. Often they're fried.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right. And I mean, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to shy away from them, but I'm not going to race to order them because they're not that good. I mean, they're okay.
What about what's your favorite Halloween costume you've ever been? What is the best thing you've ever been that you can remember?
Well, I had a really cool. My mom got the dyed a sheet black, made me a vampire costume, and it was a really cool vampire costume. Had kind of the shaped like bat wings there at the bottom and stuff. And so after trick or treating, what was awesome about that is the multi-purpose. You could be, you could be Batman. You could be a vampire. You could be like Barnabas Collins on Dark Shadows.
There you go.
You could just generally have a cape and be a superhero, whatever one you come up with.
You make up your own.
Yeah. It was a multi-purpose cape. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. That cape accessorized with all kinds of stuff. So it was outstanding as far as basement and backyard activity. You could have all kinds of, you could become all sorts of things, good or evil in that thing.
If you got the cape and an imagination, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, a lot like a cardboard box at that age. Cardboard boxes were a big deal back then.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody buy a refrigerator. Hey, the Johnsons just bought a refrigerator. All the kids would go racing over there,
with the scissors and the markers and the duct tape.
Oh yeah, break out a knife. Somebody cut their finger. The whole thing goes outstanding.
What kind of music does Mike Leach like?
When I was growing up, and it was kind of a Wyoming thing. Even they're not Wyoming, but they were just so listened to in Wyoming at that time. Growing up, it was Marshall Tucker and Jerry Jeff Walker were kind of big time.
There you go.
Because they did concerts and did a concert or two in Cody. But I'd say like Southern rock stuff. Leonard Skinner's outstanding. I like Neil Young. I like all that stuff. Kind of. Because I was in the disco era, so you had to either wait it out or go back. Because there's a reason that stuff didn't last. And then they went to the punk stuff, which was an improvement, but it wasn't a solution. And then, so it was a bit of a struggle. Eagles were outstanding. Stuff like Jackson Browne. Grateful Dead's good. Bad Company, way underrated.
There you go.
Alice Cooper, very good. Let's see, Jackson Browne, very good. Jethro Tull, kind of a go-to. You want to have one that, Jethro Tull. Not everybody is knowledgeable on Jethro Tull as they should be.
Does it drive you nuts to hear the crap these kids listen to nowadays?
Hey, I got a kick out of this. Yeah, a little bit. But when they took stuff off the radio, I don't have as much exposure anymore. And I listen to all the country stuff too. But then I listen to all the country stuff. It's funny because periodically my kids, and not just one of them, will come up and they'll give you, so Dad, like they're really with it. And they're really hip.
Yeah.
So, Dad, I'll bet you've never heard of Led Zeppelin. and I look at the kid like, what happened to your brain? I'm thinking, my child is an idiot. and then I'm thinking they're joking. And I'm thinking, okay, so say something next. Okay, what is it?
What's the punchline?
Oh, that's it. They're serious. You realize Stairway to Heaven has been everybody's prom song for like 2 decades when I was your age, okay? I go, have I ever heard of Led Zeppelin? Okay. And then they go, well, I bet you've never heard of Aerosmith. I used to play Dream On to get all psyched up to go run in track meets. That's what I would be listening to. I'd go to my bedroom, turn up full blast before I went to the track and had to run. And you needed a little psyching up. When I first started, I was 880 and 440 guy. So that takes a little psyching up. So I said, no, you got to get faster. And so my senior year, I was a 220, 100 guy, you know, so you didn't have to run as far. I was better at the 220. But anyway, so then, so I'd listen to 3 months. Then they'll go, all right, well, I bet you've never heard of sticks. And then he's just rattling off everybody that we listened to all through high school, you know. And my oldest daughter pulled the same thing. And then, I mean, they all think they discovered something. But, you know, in fairness, I got to thinking about it. I did go up to my parents and asked them if they'd ever heard the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and stuff like that. And I guess I kind of assumed they had. There were less groups back then, and then, you know, so then they'd say, oh, maybe you ought to listen to some Pat Boone. I said, I don't think I'm going to. And then, my dad was a big Buck Owens guy. And, you know, if you could revive Buck Owens and start listening to him, and that would impress some people, and he could maybe be one of those that would take off again, you know.
What's the best movie you've seen recently?
Recently, bit of a drought for movies. I saw that movie, The Irishman, on Netflix, which is better than people say. Of course, I was really into that mob history stuff, and you've got to, I guess part of the problem with it is you've got to have kind of a background on it, otherwise you get lost, you know.
Yeah. I heard it's really long.
Kind of know the backstory. Well, their struggle is they're trying to make room for all their stars. They got too many stars, and they got more stars than they have scenes for, really, you know, and you got to fit everybody in. But I thought it was good. There was one other one I was going to tell you. I can't think. It's one of them was pretty impressive. Knives Out was kind of cool if you're into that. Kind of an abrupt ending, which, but it was still pretty neat.
That was the kind of Agatha Christie style one with Daniel Craig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I enjoyed that too.
Pretty suspenseful, kind of cool.
I just saw The Joker. It was pretty dark.
Yeah, that's the thing. That'd be my thing with The Joker. It was darker than, it was worthwhile, but it was too long. I think the story could have been told quicker. I don't care if a movie's long, as long as, you know, the story's being carried. And I, you know, and people that like it, I appreciate. I wasn't as big into 1917 as some. I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was outstanding. I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ford versus Ferrari was a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm not into cars, it was a really good movie.
That's the reason I didn't see it. I'm kind of like, I don't have a lot of connection to either one of those things.
Yeah, not
I was exactly like that. You've got to see it. It's well worth it.
Okay.
It's a great movie. It's got the whole, it's almost like kind of the journey of the thing more than just the race. I recommend it. It was really good, and I almost didn't go myself.
Who, aside from Bart Starr, who's your favorite NFL player of all time?
Well, there's Bart Starr. Marino, I always liked him. And then, I mean, it's kind of Brett Favre is another one. I mean, there's a ton.
Yeah.
My favorite guy, though, was Billy Martin. I loved Billy Martin.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say most influential coach, Billy Martin.
Billy Martin, like Yankees Billy Martin?
Yeah, I loved Billy Martin. When I coached baseball in Cody, I coached baseball starting when I was 15 through my sophomore year in college. Had a team every year.
Oh, wow.
And so Billy Martin was my guy.
How many times did he get fired and then rehired the next day?
Quite a lot. Quite a lot. Well, every team took a bump up. I almost liked it better. Now, he loved the Yankees, and Yankees was his deal, and he's in the Hall of Fame and everything as a Yankee, but I almost loved it when he went places like Oakland and just kind of inspired the group, and they just get all ruthless and mean, you know, and just let it rip, you know.
All right, last one I have for you, Coach. Not besides a cougar or a Red Raider or a Bulldog, who is your favorite college mascot?
Oh, a cowboy, because he'll just gun those suckers down. How about that?
There's the PC answer.
Yeah.
Well, I plan to come and go from the state at will, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how to stay welcome here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I hear we might be playing in a charity softball game together in Cody this summer, and I hope you can make it up.
Yeah, I hope that works out. It's still unfolding at Mississippi State what my schedule is, but I hope so too.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking this time with us, Coach. I know you're busy, and congratulations on the new job. And we're really happy for you. We remember where you're from, so we always pay attention to what your teams are doing.
Well, thanks so much. We need to get Gardner and Andrew up there too.
There we go.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
So we just got off the phone with Mike friggin' Leach.
Yeah. I told you he's a trip.
You might have heard of him before, but I don't know if we never seen him quite so raw. Although he'll be really candid about whatever the heck he wants to talk about in pressers and stuff like that. So
it's kind of funny. Like I always think about what would it be to cover certain coaches, right? Like Bill Belichick. What would it be like to cover the Patriots? Probably miserable.
Miserable, because he doesn't like to. He'll just stare you down if you ask a serious question.
But then again, I think with a guy like Mike Leach, it would be fun. But on the other hand, sometimes you actually have some work to do, where you have to write a story, and you can't every story can't be Mike Leach likes dinosaurs.
Someone comes in and asks a random question and completely
throws it all off.
Yeah.
So I love that guy. I still struggle with the he went to BYU part. That still hurts to the core. But it's almost perfect that he went to BYU. Yeah. He's just because he's not BYU at all.
And I loved it when we asked him about his the code of conduct stuff.
Yeah.
His big thing that he was a rebel on was his hair was long.
I know. I was expecting to hear something a little sexier than that.
Yeah, like, oh man, I always got in trouble for doing keg stands in the quad. That's like my hair was.
Well, you get executed in Utah for that. You don't just get kicked out of school for that.
But I thought it was just really interesting how rounded he is as far as just self-educated on so many different subjects, and I liked how he was talking about how he felt like maybe that does add to a little bit of creativity, and he wrote the book on Geronimo, which was a subject that he liked already, but the book's subject was all about leadership, and I mean what is a coach if not a lifelong student in leadership and how to get people to want to fight for you.
Well, the thing I love about the guy is he's super smart, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also doesn't take himself too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And in the SEC, he's going to be going up against a guy like Nick Saban who takes everything serious. And a lot of those guys do. A lot of coaches do. Even Craig Bohl to a degree. I mean, he lets his hair down a little bit, which is a terrible way to put it.
Yeah, why would you say that?
But he does, he's cool. But some of these coaches, man, they're just hardcore, 24/7. And imagine playing for that guy. I'd play for that guy in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. Oh,
it'd
man.
It'd be fun. It'd be laid back. I love the guy.
Well, and it kind of reminds me, I wonder if it was like I had a high school teacher who had a huge wealth of knowledge like that, too. And we'd come in early before he'd get there, and we'd say, did you do that assignment? No, I didn't. Did you? None of us did that paper. So we'd say, okay, ask him something towards the end of class when he'd normally ask us to turn in our homework. And so I wonder if they go in there with the coach, we don't want him to get on us about doing that thing wrong. So somebody ask him about Pirates, and then you see if he goes off and gets distracted. Because there was a couple times where we totally got out of turning in papers.
Yeah.
Because we'd ask that teacher something about the history, and he'd say, hold on, and he'd go and the rest of the class would be about that. We wouldn't have to turn in our assignment.
Well, it was kind of cool. He was just featured on a HBO special where they followed teams around and stuff. And Washington State was one of those teams, and the guy just doesn't change, and that's the beauty of him. He's the same dude on camera. He's the same dude talking to a couple of Joe Blows like us as he is talking to ESPN or 60 Minutes or, the plethora of shows he's been on. So that's what I love about the guy.
And that seems like it would be hard to be, because I kind of wonder, because sometimes you get up there and like we talked about, Craig Bohl is 100% business when he's in front of the microphone. He loosens up a little bit off to the side and stuff like that, and you can have a human conversation with him, but I can't imagine. I can't picture him at home, playing with the kids or the dinner table or.
Which I'm sure he absolutely does, but
watching a sitcom, I can't. I just can't. I can't. I'm sure he does. He's a human being. He's a red-blooded person, but it's hard to picture it. Whereas this guy, we just had this conversation with this is this famous college coach, new coach at Mississippi, and I feel like he's probably the same guy in a conversation on his living room couch and here on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
As he might be in the locker room, and I wonder if that's true, if he's.
Yeah, oh yeah, you could tell on that HBO special, just because those cameras are in doesn't mean squat to him.
Yeah.
He's the same way. He has fun with his players, but he also, you can tell when he's serious. You know? He's just he's a good dude. He's a good coach. A huge get for Mississippi State. A program that's kind of toiled in mediocrity and one of the toughest, obviously the toughest conference to play in college football.
If you're, it's one of those conferences where if you're even a middling good team, you're a bad team in the SEC.
Oh, they can make it. Yeah, you can be in for a long season, but boy, I tell you what, the Egg Bowl sure is going to be fun this year with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss and Mike Leach over in Starkville. So good stuff from the coach. It's always good to hear from him. A lot of people don't even know that Mike Leach is from Wyoming. A lot of people have never put two and two together. And the other thing that blows people away is when I say, well, you know where he went to college. 'Cause that's always been my hang up with him. I'm like, I want to like you, coach, but I can't get with this.
But and that's one of the things where it's interesting to remember, though, is that he wasn't going there for the football program. He wasn't even really into coaching at that time. He was a law student.
Well, what's weird though is I've read that he was raised LDS, but he's obviously not like hardcore LDS.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have let his hair grow long.
Yeah, but when you go to, that's what I always think of. If you're going to BYU, you got to be hardcore Mormon. I mean, really, like.
Or just willing to put up with.
Yeah, because the experience is not going to be, it's going to be based around Mormonism.
Well,
so like if you're not hardcore, you know what I mean? Like that would be rough.
But something I could see though from his temperament and stuff like that too is.
Watching people like they're cavemen, what I mean?
Like anthropology.
Yeah, like staring at people going, how do you live this way?
I was thinking more along the lines of like, if some people go off and they're like, I can't wait to get to college because I want to get the independence and like party a little bit and then do that kind of stuff. And he wanted to get away from home, but it sounded like he was like they don't allow you to drink there? That sounds like the perfect place to study and read all my books and stuff like that. It almost sounds like that was a good environment to him because he doesn't sound like a stick in the mud by any means, but he sounds like someone who he's like, it's quiet. There's no keg stands being done outside so I can read. Like he was a perfect place for a guy like him to study and focus.
Yeah, so I'm going to flirt with danger and grow my hair out.
Take that, establishment. Watch me push it behind my ears. That's so fun, though. What an interesting guy.
You could talk to that literally. I mean, you saw. We'd probably talk to him for 30, 35 minutes.
I don't know.
Talk to him for hours and hours.
The camera quit. We apologize. I think in the production, I'll put a little slate over it so you don't miss what he was saying. But that's what happened. Like the camera literally stopped going because we were going so long.
You know what I love about him, Case? It's so perfect and perfect to talk to us is he can stick with you.
Yeah.
And he can stick with me.
Right? We can,
you know what I mean?
I can nerd out about history and pirates and probably dinosaurs if we would have got into it, and then you guys could talk. And then Leonard Skinner and...
Yeah, there's not many guys like that in the world.
No.
I mean, really, that can bounce to those different dimensions like that.
I think you call that a Renaissance man.
Yeah. Mike Leach, the Renaissance man. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know we definitely did. And it's all downhill from here.
Right, yeah. Forgive us for being a little selfish. We're like, who can talk to this week? Is like, I got Mike Leach's number. We're like, yeah.
Yeah,
so
let's do it.
We hoped you liked it. Well, like I said, maybe not always as famous of a dude, but hopefully half as interesting.
I figured, Mike Leach if Mike Leach is who I think he is, from all I've seen on him, he's going to answer my text. Yeah. And he's going to do this.
And he did.
Sure enough, I said, hey, do you want to do this today? Yep.
Yeah, we were going to do this next week, but he's like, I got time now.
Well, let's do it now.
What? You just took over an SEC team and you got time to talk to two schmoes from Cheyenne? Anyway, thanks so much for joining us again. We're going to try to be back every week with a new one of these. I mean, not always a call-in, but at least something more in-depth in our coverage. And like I said, we're going to try to branch out, have a little more fun. Make sure you folks who support us on Patreon have something interesting to check in for. But once again, check in on our normal episode of Roaring Repeater. We're talking about Trey Smith coming back another year, quarterback situation, bowl and the Michigan State question, and as well as we're talking to Chase Appleby and talking some hoops. Still talking some hoops. That's just
Plus, we're answering your questions. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a new
yeah,
thing we're
yeah.
bringing to the table. And I hope we actually have had a lot of people get on board with this. I just posed the question right before we started tonight. So we've probably gotten 20 or so responses. So love to get you guys on. And eventually, as this progresses, we're hoping that maybe we can do something more on the live side of things or, somehow progress this to where maybe we can even take callers, that sort of thing.
Oh,
so,
yeah, that'd be great.
So.
But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you around. Go check out the Roaring Repeater podcast show, episode 16. I'm going to stop talking before I break it.
And be on 7220 Sports.
And 7220sports.com always. Live there.